Well, fans of the WNBA got some tough news last night. Indiana Fever star Caitlin Clark announcing she will be out for the remainder of the season. A groin injury ending her second year in the league early. For more, we're joined by Scripps News Group's anchor, Brad Brown. He's live from Indianapolis. Brad, good to see you again. What do we know about this injury, and how big of a surprise was last night's announcement?
So, Andrew, this injury goes back to July 15th. The Fever's game against New York was the last time that Caitlin was in game action. Toward the end of that game, clearly something very visibly wrong. Turned out to be the groin injury that we've mentioned there, and that was right before the WNBA All-Star break. Caitlin had been named an All-Star captain. The game coming here to Indianapolis, there was so much buzz around the city for that, and then, of course, that was all kind of taken out of its sails with the announcement that she wouldn't be playing that weekend. So then the days passed and the weeks passed. As the calendar rolled in here to the end of August and September, the Fever kind of kept telling us they didn't know. They just really didn't know what the medical update was. And then this week, Caitlin finally got back to some team activities, but it was mostly just kind of shoot around, non-contact action, nothing really too serious. And then a final team meeting last night with the medical staff, with Caitlin, with the coaches, and making the decision that she's going to be done for the duration of this as the Fever get into this final weekend of the regular season with 3 games left, the first one of those here against Chicago tonight. Now, to come back around and answer your question, the surprise level of this announcement doesn't seem to be too high, because the fact is she's been out for the better part of the past 6 weeks with no real sign that anything was going to be imminent for a return. This just kind of gives everything some finality that the Fever can get on with the waiting game and get moving on to this final push of the regular season to try and make the playoffs.
And Brad, we know that when people or WNBA teams play her, we do see that they're often physical. They try to throw her off her game. Did that have anything to do with this injury, does it seem?
The first part of the season, we saw a lot of that, and the fact is we've seen a lot of that with a lot of the stars in this league. The WNBA, just as a whole, has become a more physical league in 2025, and I think the collective of the wear and tear of a pro basketball season. She came into training camp with a bit of a quad injury. She fought off a couple other leg injuries and another groin injury throughout May and June before we even got to July, and the serious one here that ended her season. So it's a yes to a certain extent, but the fact is that there are just a lot more injuries in the league this season. Caitlin's season-ending injury is the 5th just here for the Indiana Fever, as that list has grown over the course of the season. Couple of knees, another leg injury, and we've seen it all over the league that the physical play has gone up, the officiating has kind of let it go, and the injury rate has gone up all over the W this season.
And obviously a huge loss for the Fever, but how big of a loss is this for the WNBA overall to lose the face of the league at a time when it feels like there's just a lot of momentum about women's professional basketball?
Right, attendance numbers have been a record. They've already broken the league attendance record this season. They broke that with several games to go, as Indiana's not been the only place with big crowds this season. Golden State in their inaugural season, the Valkyries are selling out every game at the Chase Center, and there are 5-figure attendance numbers being seen all over the league throughout 2025. So when you take one of your top stars, perhaps your top of the top stars, out of that loop, there is certainly going to be an effect that kind of trickles down. But what we're also seeing here in Indiana in particular is that the attendance numbers have held up. The Fever are still drawing 13, 14, 15,000 to their home games. The TV ratings remain pretty decent as well that we've seen around the league this season. There's still 1 million+ people watching a lot of these games on a regular basis, really no matter who's playing. So there will be a bit of a dip, but it's not really kind of the catastrophe that we might attach it to being as the Dub heads into the playoffs now. There's going to be some big names, some big games coming up here over the course of these next 6 weeks, and still an exciting run to the championship ahead.
Yeah, and Brad, before I let you go, how much of a shot do the Fever realistically have without Caitlin Clark on the court?
It's tough, right? They're still in the battle for that 8th and final playoff spot right now. Indiana's just ahead of Los Angeles. The Fever are going to need to win 1 or 2 of their last 3 games just to get in. And then the daunting task becomes for that number 8 seed to play Minnesota, the very best team in the league all season long in the playoffs. Las Vegas is on a roll right now, having won 13 straight. So just to make the playoffs will be a massive accomplishment for this team. To make any kind of a run would certainly be an upset, a Hoosiers-type upset, if you will, here in Indianapolis. But they're certainly focused on this game tonight against Chicago, trying to get this win and just get in the playoffs and then have the opportunity to participate in the postseason.
All right, Scripps News Group's sports anchor Brad Brown for us from Indianapolis. Brad, thank you.